poor popcorn girl was chosen by the millionaire CEO among 83 finalists, and what she did surprised even him. Before we begin, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from, and once the story ends, don't forget to rate it from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. 83 women applied for the job, all perfect, all polished, but he chose the one with grease-stained fingers and popcorn in her hair. She wasn't supposed to be there. No degree, no résumé, no chance. Just a sidewalk cart, a loud laugh, and a heart big enough to heal a man who'd forgotten how to smile. And what she did, in a marble tower built for billionaires, changed everything. She handed him popcorn and accidentally gave him a reason to live. Sidewalks and secrets. Popcorn. The scent of caramel sugar and burnt dreams drifted up from the dented cart like steam from a forgotten pot. Popcorn. Fresh popcorn. Sweeter than your ex's apology and cheaper than therapy. Leah Rodriguez shouted into the Miami wind like she was announcing the end of the world. Her sneakers were frayed. Her shirt had more stories than style. But her voice, it sparkled bright and reckless. She didn't know anyone important was listening. At the top of the street, a man in a navy suit slammed a phone shut. Victor Dalmeda, CEO of Tech Vision Corp. Stoic, rich, rumored to have a heart colder than his boardroom. But today, that heart was racing. A $200 million mistake, a crumbling merger, and a team that feared him more than they followed him. He barked orders, not caring that his hands were full. A box of confidential files spilling from the edge. And that's when Miami decided to play a trick. One gust of wind, one perfectly timed storm, and Victor's world paper by paper went flying. Charts, contracts, legal letters, all soared into the air like terrified birds. Son of a... Victor cursed, chasing them like a man possessed. That's when she saw him. Leah nearly dropped her kettle. Oh my God, she gasped, watching the Armani-clad man flail down the sidewalk. You look like a penguin trying to fly. She laughed. He stopped, looked at her like she'd slapped him. Then she ran straight into the wind, sliding across the concrete in her old sneakers. She leapt, twisted, snatched paper midair with the precision of an Olympic catcher. Got it, she yelled, holding up a contract like it was gold. Victor stared, breathless. Was she helping? Mocking? Saving him? Yes, she said, reading his mind. All three. In less than 5 minutes, she'd gathered half the documents he'd lost. The other half, she handed over with a grin and a popcorn bag. My grandma called this happiness medicine, she said. Cures grumpiness. And CEOs. Victor took the bag, stunned. It was warm, sweet, made with care. How much do I owe you? He asked, pulling out his wallet. Nothing, Leah replied. You gave me the best show I've seen all week. She winked, turning back to her cart. Victor walked away, dazed, but he didn't know. He just made the most important decision of his life. Because that same night, he told HR to find the popcorn girl. She thought she gave him popcorn, but what she handed him was the first moment of peace he'd felt in years. Chapter 1. The Popcorn Cart Girl. The mornings on Bickle Avenue started with sirens and ended with sighs, but in between, there was Leah Rodriguez. Her popcorn cart squeaked louder than a broken violin. She pushed it anyway every morning before 7, with a smile that defied the tired bags under her eyes. Popcorn. Warm enough to fix your bad mood. Sweet enough to forget your ex. People thought she was crazy. She thought she was surviving. Maria, her little sister, was still asleep when Leah left that morning, breathing softly beneath a tattered blanket. The portable oxygen machine humming in rhythm. The apartment above the laundromat was hot, crowded, and smelled like detergent and cooking oil. But it was home. Barely. Leah made breakfast from 2 cracked eggs, and the last bit of rice. She left the good part egg yolk for Maria, always. Then she slipped on her faded yellow shirt, grabbed a hair tie, and walked out into the city that never looked her in the eye. That same morning, inside the mirrored walls of Tech Vision Corpy, Victor Dalmada held a crisis meeting. The numbers were bad. Investors were spooked. His marketing director, Margaret Thompson, leaned in with that same glacial voice. "We need someone who can polish our public image." Victor, a new face, someone safe. Victor said nothing, but in the back of his mind, he saw the popcorn girl. Not the cart, not the sidewalk, just the sound of her laugh and the way she made everything feel a little less heavy. 2 days later, HR called Leah. "Miss Rodriguez, you've been invited for an interview. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. She nearly dropped the phone. "Interview? For what?" "I sell popcorn, unless you want a caramel resume." The voice on the line was crisp. "You were recommended." "By who?" Leah asked, stunned, but they wouldn't say. The next day, Leah stood in front of the towering glass of Tech Vision's headquarters, clutching her blazer-like armor. 3 options from her closet. 1 decent pair of jeans, a black blouse with only 1 popcorn stain, and a clearance rack blazer that still had the tag. She wore all 3. Her shoes squeaked against the marble floor as she entered the lobby, eyes wide. "This place looks like a spaceship for rich people," she whispered. The receptionist didn't smile. 45th floor, elevator to the right. Upstairs, the air smelled like vanilla, wealth, and judgment. Dozens of women sat in perfect rows, heels crossed, hair sleek, resumes thick enough to use as doorstops. Leah, with her scuffed bag and the smell of kettle corn, sat last, quiet, almost invisible. One woman turned to her, smiling like a magazine ad. "You here for the assistant job too?" "I think so," Leah answered, unsure. "How interesting," the woman replied. One by one, the candidates walked in and out. Each exit carried either fake confidence or quiet disappointment. And then finally, Leah Rodriguez, Amanda, from HR, called. Leah stood. Her loafers echoed like drums on the marble floor. People turned. One woman smirked. She walked toward the door, shoulders back, even as her knees shook. What she didn't know, behind the one-way mirror in the interview room, Victor Dalmada was watching, smiling. The moment she stepped in, his gamble began. Out of 83 polished candidates, only 1 girl walked in carrying nothing but popcorn, and left behind the scent of something Victor hadn't known he needed. Truth. Chapter 2. Not like the others. The chair squeaked before Leah sat in it. Polished leather, smooth and cold. 3 executives sat across the table like carved statue suits, perfect. Expressions unreadable. Amanda, the HR rep, glanced at her resume blank except for her name. "So, Miss Rodriguez," said a man with glasses so clean they looked invisible. "Tell us about your experience." Leah blinked. "Well, I run a small business, popcorn. 5 years now. I manage inventory, marketing, sales, customer complaints, word-of-mouth outreach. Oh, and I once stopped a flying piece of paper from falling into a storm drain." The woman on the right raised an eyebrow. "You're in street sales. I prefer portable joy distribution." Leah smiled. No one laughed. 10 minutes later, she'd spilled a glass of water, used the word banana hands, and offered everyone free popcorn as a thank you for letting me embarrass myself. When they said the interview was over, Leah stood and curtsied, out of pure panic. As she left, Amanda sighed. Well, that was different. Behind the mirrored glass, Victor smiled. It was exactly what he wanted. 2 days later, Leah received an email. Hired, start Monday. She reread it 5 times, convinced it was a scam, then screamed into a pillow. until Maria came running. You got the job. I think I did, Leah whispered. God help them all. First day. She wore the same clearance rack blazer, same jeans, same nervous smile. The 45th floor smelled like success and subtle air freshener. Everything was glass and chrome. Everyone moved like they had secrets to hide and meetings to rule. Leah stood by the welcome desk, holding a badge that read, Temporary Assistant. A woman in stilettos walked by and gave her a once-over. You lost, sweetheart. Nope, Leah said, smiling. I'm just new and slightly confused. Her desk was smaller than a food cart, but far shinier. She poked every drawer like it might explode. Amanda dropped off a training binder the size of a microwave. Try not to set anything on fire. Do I look like I start fires? Amanda stared. Okay, fair. By lunch, she'd gotten lost twice, accidentally walked into the men's room and spilled coffee on her keyboard. Everyone stared. No one spoke, except Charles Blackwood. He was sitting in a leather chair, silver hair perfectly combed, reading a report with deep lines around his eyes. Excuse me, sir, Leah said cheerfully. Cleaning staff's running a bit late today. Huh, he blinked. I'm sorry. No worries. I'll wait outside while you finish. I don't want to interrupt. Charles slowly stood. I'm Charles Blackwood, chairman of the board. Leah's soul left her body. Oh my God. I just called the chairman. The janitor. You did. I can jump out the window. It's fine. Don't. He chuckled. It's been years since anyone made me laugh before lunch. She followed him to her real desk. Word traveled fast. The new assistant had mistaken Charles Blackwood for cleaning staff. She should have been fired by lunch. But instead, Charles brought her coffee the next morning. Victor watched from his office. Every stumble, every apology, every unexpected smile. She's not like the others, he murmured to himself. No, Charles said, leaning in the doorway. She's better. Victor looked up, surprised. You like her? I like people who aren't pretending. That afternoon, Leah passed by Victor's office, glass doors, wide open, sunlight flooding across polished floors. He didn't look up, but he saw her reflection pause. Then she made a funny face at the glass, like a fish, eyes wide, lips puckered. Victor let out a laugh sharp, sudden, full. His assistant jumped. He hadn't laughed like that in months. They hired her as an assistant. But what no one realized yet was that Leah Rodriguez didn't come to blend in. She came to wake something up. Chapter 3. Chandeliers and Croquettes. The invitation was printed on thick cream cardstock with gold foil edges. Miami Children's Hospital Gala. Black tie. Thursday. 7:00 p.m. Fontainebleau Hotel Ballroom. Representative. Tech Vision Corp. Wait. Leah blinked. You're sending me to this. Amanda pinched the bridge of her nose. Victor requested it personally. There must be a typo. Maybe he meant to send the head of marketing or a mannequin in a nice dress. Amanda didn't smile. You leave at 6, and please try not to start a food fight. By 6:45, Leah was standing outside the grand ballroom, adjusting the dress Doña Carmen had stitched together overnight. Black satin, patched with vintage lace, a waist sash made from an old scarf, and sleeves too short, but full of heart. Jesus, Mary, and Beyoncé, she whispered, staring at the chandeliers. I don't belong here. But she walked in anyway. It was like entering another planet. Every woman shimmered in silk. Every man smoothed their tie like they were born into them. And Leah, she carried her thrift store clutch like a security blanket. The name Tech Vision Corp on her badge felt like a prank. Popcorn Girl, a voice said behind her. She turned, stunned. It was him, Victor, in a crisp tuxedo, hair slightly tousled, smiling like it was only them in the room. You remember me? I remember the only person who made me laugh in a year. Before she could respond, a waiter passed with champagne. She reached and promptly bumped into a tall, mustached man in a white jacket. Champagne splashed across his shirt. "Oh my God," Leah gasped. "I just baptized you in Prosecco." The man blinked, then laughed. "I'm the Minister of Finance," he said kindly. "I'll pay for the dry cleaning or sew you a new shirt." I know a lady, Victor, standing nearby, covered his face, laughing. Dinner was worse. She used the wrong forks, called foie gras meat jelly, and at one point, when the waiter passed by with a tray, she stood up and shouted, "Coxinhas, are you kidding me? I haven't seen these since my cousin's wedding." She ran to grab two, gave one to Victor. "This," she said between bites, "is better than therapy." He nearly choked on laughter. What Leah didn't know was that someone filmed it. The video hit the internet that night. Executive eats croquettes like a kid at carnival. Millions watched her awkward joy, her warmth, her unapologetic charm. "She's all of us," one comment read. "Finally, someone human in those events. I want her to be my friend." The next morning, Leah expected to be fired. Instead, she found a cream-colored envelope on her desk. Inside, a promotion offer, Director of Public Relations, double salary, her own team, and a handwritten note. In careful script, "You have something none of the other 83 had." She stared at the note for a long time, not breathing, not blinking, just feeling seen. She went to the gala, thinking she'd be laughed at. She left, not knowing the whole world had just fallen in love with her. Chapter 4. You have something the others don't. The note stayed in her purse like a lucky charm. She'd unfold it on the bus, on lunch break, at red lights. Every time she read it, Leah felt her heart slow, not because of the promotion offer that still felt like a dream in borrowed heels, but because someone had seen her. In a room full of perfect resumes, someone saw her. You have something none of the other 83 had. 2 weeks later, Amanda walked briskly to Leah's desk. "You're going to Orlando, Disney World." "No." "Tech Summit, 3-day conference, 5-star hotel. Bring business attire." Leah laughed. Amanda didn't. At the Miami airport, Leah showed up in the only blazer she owned and a suitcase borrowed from Doña Carmen's nephew. She spotted the Tech Vision team, instantly sleek hair, sharp suits, and suitcases that cost more than her cart. She ducked behind a pillar. "Leah." A voice called. She turned. Victor, in jeans, open collar shirt, tousled hair, a softness in his eyes that made her heart skip like a scratched record. On the plane, fate, or Victor, had seated them side by side. "First time in Orlando?" he asked. "First time on a plane," she said, gripping the armrest like it owed her rent. Victor smiled. "Want me to explain the noises?" "Please. I feel like we're inside a metal burrito about to be microwaved." He laughed and didn't stop for a while. In the clouds above Florida, something shifted. They talked not like boss and employee, but like two people who'd been lonely too long. She told him about Maria, about her mom's laugh, about the way poverty makes you creative. He told her about his father's death, about the pressure to be perfect, about how he sometimes sat in meetings, wondering if anyone actually liked him or just feared him. "You ever feel like you're pretending?" she asked softly. "All the time," he said, "especially at the top." At the conference, she felt out of place again. Panels about blockchain, AI, and phrases she couldn't pronounce. But in one session about humanizing tech, Leah stood up. "I'm not a tech person," she said, cheeks burning, "but I sell popcorn, and I listen." She paused. The room was watching. "You build apps? My neighbors don't know how to use them. You make websites? My cousin with dyslexia can't read them. You're geniuses, but people still feel lost. Silence. Then applause, louder than anything she'd ever heard. Victor watched from the back and felt his chest swell with something he hadn't felt in years: pride. That night, he knocked on her hotel room door. "I need to say something," he said, hands shaking just slightly. Leah let him in. Victor stood by the window, unsure how to begin. "I was the one who told HR to call you. I left that note. I asked you to the gala." Her breath caught. "I did it because the day you helped me with those papers, you gave me something no one else did. Not respect, not obedience, but truth." Laughter, humanity. He stepped closer. "I'm not in love with your resume. I'm in love with you." Leah froze. "Victor," she whispered, "you're the CEO. I'm the popcorn girl. You're more than that." "No," she said, stepping back. "You'll get tired of playing Cinderella, and I'll be the one left cleaning the ashes." She opened the door. "Let's forget this happened." Victor stood still, watching her leave, his hands empty. Again, he gave her a job. She gave him a reason to feel again. But the world wasn't built for a popcorn girl to love a billionaire. Not yet. Chapter 5. The Scandal. The week after Orlando felt like a dream Leah wasn't ready to wake up from. Until Monday morning. Until Amanda came to her desk, pale, trembling, holding a tablet like it was radioactive. "Leah, you need to see this." The headline hit like a punch to the gut. Tech Vision. CEO's secret affair. From popcorn cart to corporate pillow talk. Beneath it, a photo, her and Victor, laughing on the plane. Another, blurry, from the hotel hallway. And a leaked email supposedly from Victor himself. "Leah Rodriguez has personal access to me. Prioritize her requests." Confidential, personal, fake, but no one cared. The article went viral in under an hour. Speculation, gossip, disgust. She's sleeping her way to the top. Typical Cinderella scam. Poor popcorn girl knew exactly what she was doing. Leah's face was everywhere. News banners, social media, office whispers. By noon, she was packing her desk in a cardboard box. People who used to laugh with her couldn't meet her eyes. "Guys," she pleaded softly, "you know me. You know this isn't true." Silence. "Do we?" Someone whispered. She left through the back exit, pushing the same cart she once used to chase dreams, back on Bickle Avenue, selling popcorn. But now, no one smiled back. Across the city, Victor was pacing his office, jaw clenched, eyes red. "You're sure the email was fabricated?" he asked the private investigator. "Yes, and we've traced the breach." Victor stared at the screen. Photos, logs, metadata, all pointing to one name: Margaret Thompson, his trusted marketing director, the one who said Leah would ruin everything, the one who handed the gossip blog a story perfectly packaged. "She tried to destroy her," Victor said, voice low. "No," said Charles Blackwood behind him. "She tried to destroy you. Leah was just collateral." 3 nights later, Leah was on the sidewalk, handing popcorn to a couple, arguing over directions. She smiled weakly, salted or sweet. They didn't even answer. But a boy in a hoodie whispered, "I saw your video at the gala. You made me laugh." That one sentence kept her standing. At the same time, on the 47th floor of Tech Vision, Victor finished assembling the file. Emails, security logs, text threads with the journalist. Margaret Thompson had tried to erase Leah with a lie. Now, he had the truth, and a board meeting at 9 a.m. They humiliated her with a lie. But he wasn't just going to clear her name. He was going to give her the power to rewrite the story. Chapter 6. The Boardroom Reckoning. The boardroom at Tech Vision had never been this full. 12 seats, all occupied. Glasses clinked nervously. Phones buzzed with silence. At the head of the table, Victor Dalmeda, calm, composed, but his eyes were fire. Margaret Thompson, sat across from him, manicured fingers wrapped around a silver pen. "Victor," she said smoothly, "you called this emergency meeting. Shall we begin?" "Yes," he said. "Let's." The projector hummed to life. "Over the past week," Victor began, "Tech Vision has faced a wave of public backlash based on a story that is categorically false." He clicked. Slide 1, the fake email. Slide 2, security access logs, Margaret's name, date stamped. Slide 3, screenshots of her private messages with the blogger. She went pale. "This is a violation of company policy, public trust, and human decency," Victor said. Charles Blackwood, seated beside him, leaned forward. "Margaret, do you have anything to say?" "I was trying to protect this company," she said, voice cracking. "She was a threat." "A popcorn vendor?" Victor asked. "She didn't belong here." Victor stood. "She belonged more than any of us ever have." By the time the evidence finished rolling, the room was silent. Margaret's eyes burned with rage. "You're destroying everything over a street girl." Victor didn't flinch. "No, I'm rebuilding everything with someone who remembers what truth looks like." Margaret was terminated immediately. That afternoon, Leah was counting quarters in her popcorn cart when her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She answered, weary. "Leah Rodriguez, speaking. This is James Mitchell. I was hired by Victor Dalmeda to investigate the article. I just sent you something." An email came through. A video file. Leah pressed play. It was the boardroom. Victor. The whole confrontation, and at the end, him saying her name like it meant something more than a headline. Her phone rang again. "Leah." Victor's voice, soft. "I saw it," she whispered. "You defended me. You were never guilty. I should have stopped it before it started. Why did you fight for me?" she asked, tears in her voice. "Because I believe in you. And because," he exhaled, "I can't stop thinking about you." Silence. Then her quiet reply, "Me neither." The next Monday, she didn't walk into the office as a joke. She walked in as Director of Social Impact. Her name on the gold plaque, her vision funded, her seat at the table earned, defended, and waiting. Victor met her at the elevator. He didn't say a word, just offered her his arm. She took it. They tried to erase her, but she walked back in. Not as the popcorn girl, but as the woman who changed everything. Chapter 7, Popcorn Entrepreneurs. Her new office had a view of the ocean, not a corner cubicle, not a shared desk with flickering lights, an actual office, but Leah still brought her own kettle and made tea on the windowsill because comfort came from the familiar. The plaque on the door read, Director of Social Impact, Leah Rodriguez. She touched it every morning just to make sure it was real. The budget was generous, the power unexpected, but the vision, that came from Liberty City. 2 weeks in, she visited a small community center in a forgotten zip code where she met Marcus, a 19-year-old selling handmade candy to feed his siblings. He showed her a notebook full of ideas. "But no one listens," he said. "No one teaches us how to turn dreams into plans." Leah sat with him on the curb for an hour. No cameras, no agenda. When she got home that night, she wrote the first draft of her proposal in a spiral notebook she once used for grocery lists. Popcorn Entrepreneurs, a 6-month mentorship program for youth from underserved communities, business training, seed funding, and above all, believers. Not charity, not pity, investment in potential. When she presented it to the board, she stood without notes. "Popcorn changed my life," she said simply, because someone saw value in what no one else noticed. Charles Blackwood smiled, murmuring, "That's the pitch of the decade." It was unanimously approved. 2 months later, Leah sat in a folding chair beside Marcus, who now had a logo, a permit, and a brand deal with a downtown cafe. "You really did it," he whispered. "We did it." she corrected. And then, now go hire someone. Be someone's Victor. The news picked it up. CNN ran a headline, From Street Cart to Startup. Tech Vision's Popcorn Revolution. Victor watched it on mute from his office, smiling. He didn't care about the praise. He cared about the way her eyes lit up on camera. That same light he saw the day her laughter filled the sidewalk outside his building. That night, he sent her a message. You're changing lives. But mine was the first. She didn't reply, but she stared at that message for a long, long time. The next day, Leah walked into her office and found a box on her desk. Inside, her old popcorn cart, polished, painted blue, a brass plaque read, Where It All Began. Her eyes filled. Victor's note was tucked beneath. Some things belong in museums, others belong in movements. You belong in both. She didn't just find her voice. She gave hundreds of others the courage to find theirs too. Chapter 8. The Line Between Us. They hadn't touched since Orlando. Not in the hallway. Not during late-night strategy calls. Not even when Victor passed her a folder in a meeting, and their fingers brushed just barely. But Leah felt the distance in her bones. Not cold, not angry, just careful. Like both of them were standing on opposite sides of a fault line, afraid that even one wrong word might make the whole ground crack open. The program was exploding. National headlines. 3,000 applications in the first month. Marcus, the boy from Liberty City, had been invited to speak on a youth panel in Day. Leah should have been proud. She was, but part of her was waiting for something else. Some signal, some truth. Then came the gala, another one. This time, National Entrepreneur Summit. Leah wore a simple navy gown that hugged her ribs, but left room to breathe. Victor met her at the door. You look. He stopped, like I'm trying not to spill anything this time, she teased, voice soft. He smiled, but his eyes didn't. They sat across from each other at the table, surrounded by executives, journalists, and government officials. They laughed at the same jokes, nodded at the same speeches, but when their eyes met, something held. For a moment, Leah forgot about position, titles, protocol, and remembered only the man who once chased papers down the sidewalk like a madman and told her she was more than the world dared believe. After the event, she stepped outside into the hotel's quiet courtyard. The fountain glowed under moonlight. Wind tugged at her shawl. She didn't hear him walk up behind her, but she knew it was him. Victor, I thought you left, she whispered. I almost did. They stood side by side, not touching. The fountain bubbled, leaves rustled, and neither said a word for a long time. Finally, he turned. I'm afraid to want this, he admitted. This, she echoed. You, us. I'm your boss, Leah. I hired you. I gave you power. No, she cut in gently. You gave me a chance. I earned everything else. He nodded slowly. But if I reach for you, it'll change everything. She looked up at him, eyes burning. It already has. He stepped forward, so close she could feel his breath. Tell me to walk away, he whispered, and I will. Leah's heart pounded, but she said nothing. She stepped back. Not yet, she said. If we do this now, it'll be ruined before it begins. Victor's face didn't fall, but his shoulders did. He nodded once. I'll wait. She smiled small and sad. You always say the right thing. He left, and Leah leaned back against the marble wall, heartbreaking in a beautiful, unbearable way. Some love stories don't begin with a kiss. They begin with a pause so the heart can be ready when the time finally comes. Chapter 9. The 84th envelope. The envelope wasn't meant for her. It had no name, no stamp. Just a cream-colored rectangle slipped between the pages of an old donor file Leah had taken home to review. She almost tossed it aside. Almost. But something about the handwriting, elegant, measured, made her pause. She unfolded the note with gentle fingers. The first line made her breath catch. To the 84th candidate. It wasn't typed. It wasn't addressed. But it was unmistakably him. Victor, you weren't on any short list. You didn't come with a resume embossed in gold. You didn't quote Forbes or know how to pronounce hors d'oeuvres. But you walked in like a storm with pockets full of popcorn and made me remember what it meant to feel alive. Leah sat on her couch, knees drawn up, heart pounding. I told myself, I chose you because you were different. But the truth is, you chose me first. That day on the sidewalk, when I was just another man in a suit, about to lose everything, you gave me something no one else dared to give. Kindness without conditions, joy without judgment, a laugh when all I had were spreadsheets and silence. She covered her mouth, holding in a sob. I've written and rewritten this letter 100 times, deleted more confessions than I care to admit. But I kept this one, because maybe one day you'll find it, and maybe when you do, it'll be safe to say, I loved you long before I was brave enough to say it. She sat in stillness long after midnight. The city hummed below her window. Traffic lights changed for no one. She folded the letter back, tears slipping onto the ink. It blurred, but didn't vanish, just like him. The next morning, Leah walked into Tech Vision not as a director, but as a woman with something to answer. Victor wasn't in his office. She left the letter on his desk with a sticky note on top. I found this, so here's my answer. See you at the rooftop. 7 p.m. That evening, the wind blew strong across the rooftop garden Victor had built but rarely used. Leah waited under string lights and sky. He arrived right on time. No blazer, just that same quiet intensity that had undone her since the first day. I wasn't sure you'd come, he said. I wasn't sure I'd stay, she whispered. But then I realized, I've been waiting for this moment since the day you chased those papers. She held out her hand. I'm not the 84th candidate anymore. He took it. You're the only one who ever mattered. And there, under city lights and second chances, he kissed her. No fear, no hesitation, only truth. He never mailed the letter, but love has a way of finding the right hands when the heart is ready to read it. Chapter 10. The Wedding in the Wind. The sky was undecided, the kind of April afternoon where clouds whispered secrets and the breeze danced like it remembered a melody no one else could hear. The beach at Key Biscayne had been transformed, not with chandeliers or celebrity chefs, but with folding chairs, wildflowers, and a cart painted in deep ocean blue. Her cart, polished, beloved, with a tiny sign that read, where it all began. 50 guests, no media, just family, friends, and the young entrepreneurs who once doubted their worth until Leah gave them something to believe in. Marcus was a groomsman. Sarah read a poem. Charles Blackwood, semi-retired, officiated with a grin. Leah wore a soft, sleeveless dress stitched by Doña Carmen and lined with tiny popcorn seed beads. Victor wore no tie, no ego, just a linen shirt rolled at the sleeves like he was ready to begin again. When she reached him, barefoot in the sand, he took both her hands and whispered, "You look like everything I ever forgot to ask for." She smiled. "And you," she said, "still look like you need popcorn." Everyone laughed. The ice broke, the breeze quieted. They said vows that weren't written on paper, but lived in every glance since that first day on the sidewalk. Victor, you saw a human where others saw a headline. You made me want to be someone worth believing in. Leah, you never saved me. You reminded me I didn't need saving, just space, and someone who knew how to listen. When Charles finally said, "You may kiss the bride," Victor did, slow, reverent, certain, and just then, the wind picked up. sweeping through the crowd, tugging at dresses, lifting flower petals like confetti from heaven. Afterward, they danced on the sand, Leah barefoot, Victor following her lead, like the waves followed the tide. Marcus handed out caramel popcorn in custom cones. One of the wrappers read, "Popcorn, cheaper than therapy, just as powerful." Later that night, as the sun melted into the horizon, Leah leaned against Victor's chest, watching the sky. "You ever think about how this all started?" she asked. "I do," he said. "All the time." "Me too," she whispered. "And you know what I've realized?" "What?" "That I didn't just offer you popcorn that day." He turned to look at her. "I offered you my heart. And somehow, you didn't drop it." He kissed her forehead. "I still have it," he whispered. "And I always will." She was never just a popcorn girl. She was the woman who taught the world what kindness tastes like. Sweet, real, and unforgettable. The cart where it began. There's a photo now, framed in the hallway of Tech Vision's headquarters. It shows a girl in a yellow shirt and ripped sneakers, offering popcorn to a man with tired eyes and a fistful of flying papers. Most people walk past it without knowing. But if you pause long enough, if you really look, you'll see it. The exact moment a life changed. Not because of luck, not because of money, but because one human looked at another and saw something worth believing in. Leah never wanted to be famous. She just wanted to matter. To make people laugh when they were too tired to smile. To hand out sweetness when the world felt bitter. To mean something to someone. And Victor had everything but joy. He had power, position, perfection. But what he didn't have was peace until the cart still sits in their backyard, refinished, revered, not as a reminder of poverty, but of purpose. Because that cart carried more than popcorn. It carried dreams and heart and a girl brave enough to speak when others stayed silent. If you ever find yourself lost on a sidewalk, on that page, or in a life that feels like it's gone off script, remember Leah, and remember this. Sometimes the love story doesn't begin with roses. It begins with corn kernels, a crooked smile, and a stranger who couldn't stop chasing papers. What did you think of this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Rate it from 0 to 10. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story. And stay tuned, more powerful stories are waiting for you right here. If this story moved you, the next one might just find you when you need it most. Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more true love stories that begin in the most unexpected places. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. See you in the next story.